Got it. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1:02. We'll call the Silks Legislative Subcommittee to order. Wendy, can you please call the roll of the Silk membership?
Sorry, I was muted there. Okay. Evander Davis. Vicky Esmer.
Wendy,
Yeah.
this is Dawn. I was just going to say you don't need to call the entire Silk membership roll call. This is not a Silk meeting. This is the legislative subcommittee. So if you want to go through the members who are present, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was wondering. Okay. So I see Mary Evilsizer. Obioma officer. Kate Oste. Linda Voivoda.
Here.
And then are other people popping in, Dawn?
Yes, but
Those are the ones that I saw already that are members.
yeah, and Cody's here.
And then Lisa Bonney as well. I see.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment at this time? Please note that the chair may place reasonable limitations on the amount of time you're able to speak.
This is John Lyons. Stephen, if I may, I don't see a hand up yet, and I couldn't find my raising hand option yet.
Please go ahead.
As I still let people in the room, I just wanted to also mention that I blasted out an email this morning regarding AJR 1 from last session, which changes language in our Constitution about people with disabilities, and it's important. And I believe that if you didn't get that email, please reach out to Wendy or myself so we can resend it to you specifically, because I tried to get it to everyone, but sometimes I miss people. So that's all.
Hi, Stephen. This is Dora Martinez. Sorry, I couldn't find my raise hand. May I speak? Okay. So hi everyone. I just came from Capitol Carson. There was a hearing on Assembly Bill 79 regarding the 700-hour, and we were trying to see if it'll be amended, but it didn't. I'm really hoping that people with disability and people who are our allies and caregivers could maybe write in, call, and have them change their mind and support the amendment that Stephen Cohen put on Nellis. It's on Nellis now. I just checked. Thank you for doing that, Stephen. Hard work, but we'll see what happens. Assemblywoman Tracy Brown May is the sponsor. People with Voc Rehab were there. Of course, they supported her version, which really discriminate and does not serve the purpose of what we need to do as people with disability after 33 years of ADA. So I was really hoping to see some people from the Center for Independent Living there, but you know, it is what it is. And thank you so much and have a great day. And thank you, Dawn, for that. I got that blast email that you did. So thank you.
Dr. Cosgrove, I see you chomping at the bit there. Go ahead.
So can you explain that to me one more time exactly?
The 700. This is Stephen,
so that's
for the
the
record.
700 one, right?
Yep, the 700-hour program is a special hiring program for people with disabilities for a term not to exceed 700 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I've had conversations with other people about this. That's not sustainable. No one can have an apartment and pay rent and be independent if you're capped at 700 hours. So I think by creating a carve out like that, we're specifically, again, saying what I know this group doesn't want to say is that some people shouldn't be able to be independent.
Thank you. This is Stephen for the record, and then I'll just the two other bills that are being heard in the next couple of days. Assembly Bill 161 is being heard tomorrow in Assembly Growth and Infrastructure, it proposes to put an autism designation on driver's licenses. I have a meeting with the sponsor tomorrow morning to propose a couple of one of them's a minor amendment to allow a mental health professional to be able to provide the diagnostic statement. And then the other one would require all law enforcement officers, new and continuing, to be trained on the designation. That's the major one that may kill the bill, unfortunately. And then the other one is AB 37. It's confirmed now for next Tuesday, Assembly Revenue, that will establish the Behavioral Health Workforce Center at UNLV. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to comment at this time?
So something I would like to bring up.
Go ahead.
There's a kind of top level political discussion about voter ID. But then there's also a couple of other bills that are specifically targeted toward making sure if someone's coming out of jail or prison that they get a valid ID, because you have to have it to get social services and housing. But now there's other groups, the mental health group, and then I raised it when it came to people with disabilities, that there are so many things you have to have an ID to be able to do, that I don't know how anybody can be independent if they do not have a valid government issued ID. And I'm not sure why we can't have a discussion about the state providing money just to help anybody that needs it to get an ID. And so we're talking to some legislators, are specifically talking to Melissa Hardy, because she has a bill just to say, if you're coming out of prison, the state will pay for you to get an ID. To see if she could just say, if anybody is having financial difficulties getting a government ID, that they should get help from the state.
Yes, I agree.
Because literally you can't do anything without a government issued ID anymore. So we're talking with her to see if she will broaden it out a little bit, but then I know there's going to be pushback because they'll think it'll get pulled into this partisan fight over voter ID. But so I'm hoping we can keep it away from that and just say you're making it so people can't have a bank account or can't rent an apartment or do anything because they don't have an ID.
This is Linda with RCIL for notoriety. I agree with you, Sandra. A lot of people that we have come in here, that's the basic thing that they need is an ID, regardless whether it's just an ID or a driver's license. They need that because in most instances with any kind of application for housing, any kind of application for anything, basically, you have to have some kind of ID.
Exactly.
And so it's really hard for people to get that unless they get help from somewhere. So I agree with you totally. It's very important for us to have that basic, give it to whoever needs it out there, regardless of whether you're coming from the prison system, whether you're coming from out on the streets, all of it needs to be happening.
Right.
This is Dee Dee Formaster for the record. You literally cannot do anything without an ID. Literally. And if you have lost your ID, which the favorite thing for the sheriff's office often is to take your ID and not give it back, what happens is that you cannot get a birth certificate, which you have to have for an ID. And consequently, because you cannot get a birth certificate, because you have to have an ID to get a birth certificate, you then also, the only thing you can really get is the Social Security card. I found a way around that. But it is a virtual nightmare with the ID thing. It's horrible. And I can honestly say you can't get housing, you can't get work, you can't get anything. And so, yeah, that's the first step that we do when people come to our office is ask, do you have a Social Security card? Do you have an identification card? You know, you just can't do anything without those two pieces of ID. And you can't get them without an ID. Thank you.
Renee, go ahead.
Talking about getting IDs for people with disabilities.
Excuse me, this is Dawn Lyons for the record. I hate to interrupt, but we are in a period of public comment, so it's not technically a discussion on any specific topic. If you do have a public comment regarding this topic, that's okay. Just remember, this is not a discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. I came in a little bit late, so I didn't know where we were on it. But anyway, about the IDs for people with disabilities, lucky for my family, I had their social security that I got for them shortly after birth and their birth certificate. So when I went down and said, you know, my daughter needs an ID, she does not drive, but she needs the ID for anything. I pulled out what was needed, filled out the paperwork, and had her sign her ID thing. But I told her she does not read. She does not understand what's going on. So I do everything, but when she goes to get the picture, she can sign her name. And luckily it worked out for us. So now with everything she needs to do, she's got her ID. I just have to remind you to take it with her. And I'm done.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to comment at this time? Seeing and hearing none, moving on to agenda item number 3, meeting minutes from February 24th, 2022. Has everyone had a chance to review, the Silk members have a chance to review the minutes?
This is Dawn Lyons. Wendy, can you verify that the minutes were posted?
Yes, they have been posted and sent out to all the
Great.
members that I had on this list.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I entertain a motion to approve the minutes, or are there any changes that need to be made?
I motion to, I motion for the minutes to be good.
Is there a second?
This is Renee. I'll second for the minutes to be approved.
Thank you. We have a first from Linda and a second from Renee. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I
Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? By unanimous vote of the members present, motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 4, Executive Order 3. I'd like to turn this over to Dawn, if that's okay with you.
Sure, this is Dawn Lyons for the record. I'm still finding out more information regarding the governor's executive order number 3. As far as I know so far, all state agencies and state boards and commissions must submit a report to the governor recommending 10 regulations to be removed or changed by May. I am still researching to find out if Silk or the Silk business would apply because we are federal. Nikki, you might be able to, you're still here, right? Nikki Haig may be able to shed a little bit more light on it than I can, but and there's a meeting next week, next Friday, that I will learn a little bit more about it too.
Nikki, feel free. Floor is yours.
So, hi, this is Nikki Haig for the record. Right, so we do have a meeting with the chairs of the councils and commissions that fall within ADSD on Friday, the 24th, to go over the executive order from the governor's office. And we will be addressing the concerns of whatnot. So Dawn did have it right. There is an executive order that came out that asks all of the state agencies and boards and commissions to look at any regulations that that we might be able to streamline, that may no longer, they might have some things in there that are obsolete, that are no longer working for your council or commission. It's a really good way of going in and looking at the regulations that fall within all of our councils and commissions to see if there's any modifications or anything that we can do to them that we would be able to present to the governor's office. So they are saying that we need to have at least 10 or more. And so again, we will be going over all of that on the 24th and providing as much information as we can to all of the councils and commissions that fall within ADSD.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Nikki. I think this is just a discussion item, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, correct. Moving on. Are there any questions for either Dawn or Nikki? Seeing and hearing none. Moving on to agenda item number 5, employment first. I see we have Cindy Swanson on the line and then also Dr. Cosgrove as well. I'd like to turn this over to both of them.
So what I have been told is that the governor's office has recommended that he create 7 secretary positions within his office, and that each one of them will have a specific set of state agencies that they will oversee, and that one of those secretary positions will be for workforce development, and they will oversee all of the workforce agencies, and that will be the person that we can go through to work on having employment first implemented during the interim. So that's, I'm not sure when that budget's going to come in front of the legislature though, but it will be in the governor's administrative budget. So that's what I've heard.
Thank you, Dr. Cosgrove. So hasn't the governor's administrative budget already been heard? Or am I mistaken?
Ben Kekeffer presented the administrative budget to the Joint Money Committee, so Assembly, Ways and Means and Finance, but it was only just a briefing, just a presentation. They haven't taken a vote on it yet.
Got it.
Yeah.
This is Dawn Lyons before Cindy can unmute, because I'm guessing she's trying to unmute herself right now. I wanted to mention also that I think when we discussed employment first as a ad hoc committee, we did decide based on Dr. Cosgrove's recommendations and background advice that it would be best to hold off on pushing our executive order forward and just kind of waiting to see who becomes in charge of the Office of Workforce Development, and to see how that whole thing develops in its structure. And then we can decide what the best plan of action would be at that point. But we do believe that it is in alignment at this time, and we're really optimistic that it's going to remain in alignment with what the governor wants as well.
Okay, can you all hear me? No.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I wasn't muted. So I stepped out for a second or two to get my husband to come in to unmute me, but Dawn was saying something about the governor's process that Sandra was talking about. So Dawn, were you saying you feel pretty comfortable with how it's going with this process?
This is Dawn. I personally do. I feel optimistic about what we can do once we get to the point where it's appropriate. I feel like we kind of decided and we were all on the same page, and I believe that, you know, we're going in the right direction with this, and it's best to wait and see, but that we haven't done all this work for nothing at all.
Well, yes. And okay, well, thank you very much. I have nothing to add other than I want to share with this group that the subcommittee that's working on employment first has been pretty diligent, and we've got some really good wisdom on this group. So I'm going to go along with Dawn and be hopeful also. So thank you.
Thank you. This is Stephen for the record. So what would our action be on this one? Because this is an action item.
This is, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Dawn.
Oh, this is Dawn Lyons. I was just going to say, I think my suggestion and our consensus among the Employment First Subcommittee was that we just hold off and wait until whoever is appointed to the Office of Workforce Development and see how that unfolds, so that we can assess at that time the appropriate plan of action.
So then essentially we're tabling the item formally till next meeting, essentially.
Right.
Sounds good. Moving on to agenda item number 6. Senate Bill 43. The CSPD bill. Dawn, do you have any more information on it?
Yeah, so this is Dawn Lyons. I'm not sure why. I must have worded it that way myself, but I'm not sure why I left out the other sections of it.
That's okay.
Because there's a lot more to that. It's changing a little bit about the Commission on Aging and the Deaf Commission, and it will I guess I highlighted the Commission for Services Commission on Services for Persons with Disabilities, because in this particular bill, it does specify that they would report to the Silk and work with the Silk on developing the state plan for independent living. So that was a huge factor, because you all might remember me saying that I felt like we've been working in silos for a very long time, and we all have the same interests, and it would be best if we could work together. I think this is a good move, and I see benefits for the Commission on Aging and for Deaf Commission, and just the bill altogether. I didn't find anything in it that I disagreed with. I like it. And I just wanted to share that.
This is Linda for the record. What is that bill again?
SB 43.
SB. Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So then what would our action be on this one? Since it's already been heard in the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. So that's the challenge of legislative session, is by the time you have an agenda, the bills have already been heard.
And this is Dawn Lyons. That's kind of the trouble with having legislative subcommittees during legislative session, is we need to keep up, but it's really hard to keep up when we don't know the schedule, and then all of a sudden it's there, right? So we did miss this one, so there's really no action to take at this time, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of it as well. So it's a good thing it was on the agenda. At least we could bring it up.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 7. Assembly Bill 37. Dr. Cosgrove, do you want to speak for Dr. Hunt on this one?
Sure. So things are looking good with that. That's the one that would authorize the Nevada System of Higher Education to follow the Nebraska model for creating a workforce center for mental and behavioral health careers and professions. And she has put about a $2 million fiscal note on it, and that's why it ended up over in revenue and was moved from education to revenue. But from what I'm hearing, there's no one opposed to that $2 million. They just need to figure out where they want to take the money from to move it over into the NSHE budget. So they're not sure if it would be like GoEd or one of the workforce development budgets. But ultimately, they're going to have to change the funding formula for the Nevada System of Higher Education to make sure that it gets funded beyond these 2 years. And the governor has set aside $5 million to do a review of that funding formula. So everything is falling into place for it to get approved and get the funding. It's just, making sure that it has money to go forward for more than 2 years. But everybody, I swear every single committee hearing that I've watched so far in this session, mental and behavioral health has come up. Every single one. So I think this is the time.
Well, and this is Dawn Lyons. I just want to say, reiterate, I've said it in other meetings, but based on our consumer satisfaction survey, mental health services were at the very top, along with housing issues, as far as needs of people with disabilities in Nevada.
Yeah, so I think things are looking good. It's just making sure that if there's opportunity to get a public comment on the record, that we do that. And like Stephen just said, it's now has been scheduled for, is it next Tuesday at 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So do we have the authority to authorize the Silk to write a letter of support for this one?
So this is Dawn Lyons. The Silk can't lobby or speak in support or against any particular legislation, but individuals can definitely give their testimony and provide their stories. They're compelling to legislators, and it's really helpful if they want to support a bill to provide that testimony. So that's what we would encourage.
Got it. So then if folks are interested, you're going to address your public comment to ASMREV at asem
DALC has left the meeting.
.state.nv.us. Attention, Chair Shay Backus, care of Nick Christie, Committee Manager. And ideally that should be submitted no later than 4 o'clock on Monday.
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. It's going to be I'll put it in the chat. Does that work for everybody?
Thank you.
This is Dawn Lyons. While he's doing that, I also wanted to let everyone know I did blast that out as well last week through email. If you need me to resend that information, I can do that as well.
Could you please, Dawn, because I didn't read it in mine. I could have just skipped over it by accident.
Sure thing, Linda.
From Stephen Cohen to everyone. asm.state.nv.us. Attention Chair Shay Backus. C/O Nick Christie, Committee Manager. Please submit NLT 4 o'clock this coming Monday 2/27 or attend the hearing either in person or virtual on Tuesday 2/28 at 4. Room number S in both locations to follow before we adjourn.
And something I would say, if you're going to do public comment on AB 37, I've been trying to anybody, when I say anything about it, I say, we need services because we don't have providers, but we have a lot of people who have lived experiences that would make them good providers. So they might want to be a counselor because they can be empathetic when it comes to some of this stuff.
Thank you, Dr. Cosgrove. So that is that one. Moving on to agenda item number 8. We're going to have to table that one. The assembly one.
Stephen, this is Dawn Lyons for the record. I was under the impression that you were going to give an overview of the ones that you're aware of that she's working on because she couldn't make it today. And I was also going to mention AB 100. I sent a message out about that as well that I just recently received that I know Assemblywoman Brown May has spearheaded for the Lifespan Respite Care Coalition sent out a letter on that. And I wanted to see if people had received that.
Got it. You're right, Dawn. My apologies. So let's go to Nillis. Do I need screen sharing capability?
You can share your screen if you'd like to. I can tell you that it's the state plan for the supportive family caregivers.
Got it.
And this has been a big issue that Silk has been discussing for a while too.
All right, let's see if this works.
Stephen Cohen has started screen share.
Can everyone see the list of bills?
No, oh, there it
The
is.
shared content is with your screen.
It took a minute.
Got it. So the first one is Assembly Bill 78 that was heard on Monday in Assembly Commerce and Labor. This exempts jobs and day training providers such as Opportunity Village from having to be licensed as nurses in order to give medication that folks may need during their workday. So that's what that one's about. Number 13 is going to be the Section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act transition bill. I think it's 5 or 6 years, something like that. That one hasn't been introduced yet, as you can see. Assembly Bill 79, we had some discussion and public comment about that one. That one was heard this morning in Assembly Government Affairs. As Dawn just mentioned, Assembly Bill 100 is the Family Caregiver Lifespan Family Caregiver Coalition. Is that right, Dawn? Close enough?
Close enough.
Bill, let's take a look at that one real quick. Oh, it won't. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say it won't let me share my screen and look at something at the same time, will it? But I guess it will.
Just to specify, the letter from the coalition says it's legislation to assess the knowledge and needs of various types of caregivers, social supports for such caregivers, the willingness of such caregivers to undertake caregiving tasks, and the ability of such caregivers to provide care. So it's really to ensure that we're providing all the support that's necessary and making the right decisions for people, especially going from institutions into the community.
Got it. Oops. Too many screens. Let's see.
Renee has her hand up, Stephen. I don't know if you want to wait on that or if you-
Renee, go ahead.
On the listening, well, actually reading what you guys are saying about the caregivers bill, is that only for young kids or
It's Renee, this is Dawn Lyons. It's in the title, it's lifespan. So it's not any particular age. It's for anyone who needs that service, that caregiving service, or who could
Okay.
provide it.
that part, but yeah. Just checking, my family has all ages. Thank you.
No problem. So moving on to Assembly Bill 206, that one was just introduced yesterday. This one will add a 12th member to the Deaf Commission, which is a certified interpreter registered through ADSD. That's what that one is about. I'm going to skip AB 99 for 1 second because I can't remember what that one's about off the top of my head. But Assembly Bill 116, that requires pediatricians, etc., to provide knowledge information about Down syndrome. So those are the disability related bills. Let me go to Assembly Bill 99 real quick because I can't, like I said, I can't remember what that one's about.
It's Medicaid reimbursement rates.
Ah, good call. Thank you, Dr. Cosgrove. So this would provide a COLA increase for all Medicaid reimbursement rates. So those are Assemblywoman Brown May's bills, and then we'll move into Assemblywoman Cohen's bills real quick. So her,
Hey, Stephen, this is Dawn Lyons. Just so everybody is aware that this isn't, her name may not be on the agenda, but Assemblywoman Leslie Cohen works very closely with Assemblywoman Brown May, and that's why he's going through her bills as well. Is that right, Stephen?
correct. So I'm going to start with Assembly Bill 150, or excuse me, BDR number 150. And I'm going to call on my good friend Dora to go through that one. Dora, are you still with us? Looks like she might be having some trouble unmuting. So we'll skip a BDR number 150 for a second, and then go to BDR number 658, which is the support of children with disabilities. The one issue that we discussed about it
Jennifer
is
Richards, SKDSD has left the meeting.
she's cutting off that foster adoption support once the children graduate from high school. So because of the way the calendar falls, folks may turn 19 in high school, I think, or 18. So it's allowing, depending on when folks' birthdays fall, for that support to continue. So say if their birthday's in February, but they don't graduate until May or June, it would continue for those few months. But as I mentioned, the one concern that I have is that students with disabilities can often stay in high school until, I forget if it's 21 or 22.
It's 22.
Yep. Dee Dee, I see you chomping at the bit.
Except if you're from Carson High, then you're not allowed to.
Off the record, right, Dee Dee?
Right.
Off the record, but it's pretty true.
Got it. And then BDR 661 is a guardianship bill. But it's just for minors. So when we go up to the legislature in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be pitching to Assemblywoman Backus, who also has a guardianship bill, an amendment related to supportive decision-making, which was passed during the 19 session. Kind of the pandemic exposed a couple of loopholes in that. Such as requiring folks to gather together to sign documents, etc. So we're going to clean up some of that, hopefully. If not this session, then hopefully next session.
So
Linda?
how old is the guardianship up to right now?
I think it's up
For minor.
to 18, as far as I know.
Okay.
So those are, and then she's got a couple of healthcare bill BDRs, number 148 and 990. We'll wait to see when those get introduced, what they're about. So those are Assemblywoman Brown May and Assemblywoman Cohen's bills and BDRs to follow. And are there any last minute questions?
This is Dawn Lyons. I want to thank you, Stephen, for going through these so thoroughly and being so knowledgeable about them and sharing that with us. I appreciate all your hard work and researching these. And I also want to correct what I said before. Assemblywoman Cohen's name is on our agenda. So it was perfectly legitimate and rational for you to go on to her after Assemblywoman Brown May. So sorry about that.
That's okay. So I will stop share. Any final questions on the two sets of bills and BDRs? Seeing and hearing none, I will stop sharing. Okay, now I can see everybody. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 9. Silk's Nothing About Us Without Us initiative. I'll turn this one back over to Dawn.
This is Dawn Lyons for the record. This is the problem with creating an agenda a couple weeks before we have the meeting is I cannot remember my train of thought behind this agenda item, but it's still very important nonetheless. And it can't hurt to remind everybody that that is our mission, and that these, that's why it's so important for us to provide our public comment or our personal testimony for any of these that are of interest to ourselves, right? Because there shouldn't be anything decided without our input. So make sure you get your voices heard. And if I think of what I was, where I was going with that to begin with, I will come back and circle back around and remind, if I get reminded of it, I'll let you know. Sorry.
Well, I can actually jump in also under this, because this goes back to what I was talking about, the bill with the IDs. When I said to the sponsor, are you aware that people with disabilities also have a hard time getting an ID? People with mental health issues have a hard time getting an ID. She just looked at me and said, really? Somebody doesn't get it for them? I'm like, no, you should talk to them. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Cosgrove. This is a problem that's, as Dawn mentioned earlier in the meeting, working in silos does not work when we're a united voice as much as we can be. We are the largest minority group in our state. 26, according to the CDC, 26.8% of Nevadans have a disability. So that is quite the majority of our population. Like I said, we need to band together and stop working in silos. So we will temporarily table agenda item number 9 and moving on to reports. So I don't see, Dawn, we don't have Deanna Gay here, do we?
This is Dawn Lyons. Deanna said she was going to do her best to be present, but she did have another commitment, and I'm assuming she couldn't get out of it at the last minute. So I'll just mention briefly again that I believe that the caregiver situation was what the transition work group was working on and highlighting the most when they last met, and trying to brainstorm solutions for the problem of the workforce shortage. And I think that with this AB 37, I think that will actually benefit that as well. And the AB 100 that from the Lifespan Respite Coalition's letter, that one as well will also help this situation. And we'll see how those unfold and how, you know, those really do help if they do, and where the shortfalls might still be, then we can approach that at that time again when the transition work group meets again.
Thank you, Dawn, for stepping in there. Moving on to integrated workforce development, Dr. Cosgrove.
So I think there's a lot of conversations going on in multiple committees about integrated workforce development. I think what we're going to need to do is probably the next time this committee meets, I think we might have like 2 or 3 bills that are being heard in different committees that are related to that topic. So we might need to do some strategic planning where like 2 or 3 of us are going to show up here, 2 or 3 of us are going to show up here, but we write like one letter that goes to all the committees saying these need to come across as a package in order for this to work. Because that's happening with a lot of the mental health bills too. They're like scattered all over the place. And sometimes the committees aren't aware that if your piece doesn't advance, you're going to stop the piece that's over in that other committee from moving forward. So we're kind of having to FYI people that these are packages that need to go forward.
So this is Don Lyons. I think it would be a really great idea for you and Stephen and I to get together outside of this meeting space and button that up and bring it to our next legislative
Yes.
subcommittee meeting.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, because I would hate to have us get like 4 of the 5 bills across the finish line and then the 5th bill be the one that had the money in it. You know, and then we're like dead in the water for 2 years.
Dee Dee?
Just want to bring up the fact that without IDs, you can't even get voc rehab. So that ID bill should be interconnected with any job bills that have anything to do with people with disabilities.
Right.
Thank you, Dee Dee. So we'll figure out scheduling that offline. And then let's see where we're at. I think, and then last but not least, the general silk overview. So it doesn't look like Julie's here. So Dawn, do you want to step in?
Sure, this is Don Lyons. You know, I've been kind of mentioning Silk has been working on this, Circuit Silk has been working on that. All of this is Silk related, of course, because this is a Silk subcommittee. So these are things that the Silk is definitely interested in. I know that we've been trying to do more outreach, and we're working with voc rehab right now to try and collaborate on a data gathering initiative so that we can work together to address some of the gaps in their services in Nevada, in support of them and in support of independent living in general. And I think we've come up with a way where it could be a win-win when we're working hard on it in the behind the scenes. So that's something that will come up at the next Silk meeting as well.
This is Stephen for the record. Is that employment first or is that something separate?
Well, I don't want to separate them necessarily, because I think it will promote employment first as well, especially if we do some more data gathering in the background while we have the time. And Silk is designing with actually with Raquel O'Neill's help from the Rehab Council. And from Silk, of course, she helped me work on some survey questions to design a survey so that we could get more specific information about results from or experiences with or not with voc rehab services, and for people with disabilities in Nevada, whether they choose not to, what those reasons might be, and that sort of thing, so that we and to have that survey and really do some outreach and grab as many survey results as we can by the end of October, so that we have it in a timely manner so that we can utilize that.
Can you send that? This is Linda. Don, can you send that over to me so I can see it?
Well, sure, but we're still working on the survey. As soon as we have it ready, I'll definitely blast it out, because I want to make sure everybody who has a disability has the opportunity to complete that survey.
Okay, thank you.
I would like very much to see workforce heading away from workshops and looking at the West Virginia model. I would like very much to see people with disabilities just viewed as another person in the workplace.
Stephen, this is Dawn. Which bill by Assemblywoman Brown May was it that addressed some of that and started that process so that we could eliminate the sub-minimum wage?
BDR number 13. It hasn't been introduced yet. But that's the one that'll be, it'll be the 14C transition bill. And it'll follow the California transition very closely. So question for Dee Dee, do you have any connections in West Virginia?
No, but I certainly will find some if that's what you need. Because I would really like for us to progress away from the workshops because they are sucking up a lot of money.
So this is Dawn Lyons. I know I also brought up in some of our outside meetings, because Assemblywoman Brown May and Assemblywoman Cohen were holding disability forums. And they were asking for our feedback, and my feedback was that South Carolina also has a really good model in that regard. And if I recall right, Assemblywoman Brown May at the time said it's already submitted and the Legislative Council is reviewing the language. And so until they come out and give her a better idea of what language would or would not be included, it's kind of hard to suggest anything else at this time. So, but it definitely can't hurt to gather it together. And if you want to gather West Virginia's information and have it prepared, that would be awesome, because I think it could be really helpful when it does finally come out for any kinds of suggested changes or revisions.
You know, several articles have been ran in the media about West Virginia, so I will pick up as much information as I can, and I will find someone in the work program over there to network with. So I'll have a name by next meeting.
Thank you, Dee Dee. And then, Dawn, is there like a national silk organization of some sort that maybe we could invite a couple of state silks?
Yeah, this is Dawn Lyons. Actually, National Silk is holding Silk Congress in March, the beginning of March. And so if they're, I know Dee Dee's attending Silk Congress as well. So between Dee Dee and I, we can try to recruit some of our other states silks to help us come up with some language.
After all, that's what it's all about, is networking to make our state a better place for people with disabilities.
It's just a couple weeks away, huh, Dee Dee?
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
And that brings us to, Dawn, do you have anything else for the general silk? That
But
brings
this
us,
is Dawn. No, sorry.
that's all right. That brings us to our second to last, well, third to last agenda item. Next meeting agenda items and next meeting date. So if my memory is correct, Dawn, we had agreed on Wednesday, March 29th at 9 a.m. Is that correct?
I also wanted to bring up something right quick before we close our meeting. Sarah Laird's bill, I think, will be coming up before the legislature during the time we will be at the Silk Congress. So we need to consider cutting a little bit of time out so that we can testify during that legislative hearing, because that's pretty imperative as far as the housing component for people with significant mental illness and housing.
So this is Dawn Lyons for the record. Dee Dee, it sounds like this would make a good next meeting agenda item. So that's why I didn't cut you off and say this isn't public comment yet, because I also have another public comment. But I do think it would make a really good agenda item for our next meeting. And I was going to say something else about that too. What was it? Oh yeah, if you get me the specific information, email it to me or something, I can blast that out to this group and to our interested parties so that we can ensure that we have those people who wish to provide support for that present as well.
I think it's vitally important for the disabled community to at least have something housing wise to get through, and housing is the first step. Without housing, we're never going to get to employment, and most people are just stuck in the housing thing and can't find a way out or in.
And the two top issues that came up in the Silk consumer survey, satisfaction survey, were housing and mental health. So yes, Stevie, if the combined bills should be very important to the disability community. I wanted to verify, Stephen, I had to look it up because I'm not good at remembering numbers, but the next meeting we did schedule tentatively for Wednesday, March 29th at 9 a.m. So you were right.
Got it.
We may not be able to address a couple of the topics that were tabled yet because it's still a little bit too soon probably, but if we can, we'll put them on there anyway, just in case we can. And then I think on our next agenda, we need to have a discussion more about this driver's license issue, and if we can have Dr.
Cosgrove.
Cosgrove, thank you. If we could have Dr. Cosgrove and yours and my collaborative efforts presented at that meeting so we can discuss it as well, I think that would be a good next agenda item as well.
Definitely.
Can we see if we can get Tracy or Assemblywoman Tracy Brown-Nay to present her bills at the next one as well?
I can do my best.
You can ask, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or even Assemblywoman Cohen.
Yep. And then Obiyama, I see you. Do you want to discuss I know we discussed the autism driver's license in the beginning. Do you want to discuss briefly the deaf community driver's license at the next meeting?
I would say yes. That kind of fits in with everything else in the driver's license ID area.
Got it. So we've got, let's see, I think we should probably keep EO3 on there. Dawn, what do you think on that?
I mean, yeah, because like I said, next Friday is another meeting on it, and I should be able to find out a little bit more information, and maybe by our next meeting date, I can even find out more than that. So yeah, it would be a good idea to revisit that one.
Got it. It's actually this coming Friday.
Oh yeah, it is. You're right. The 24th.
Yep. So we've got that. Got it. So
Was it Friday that we had another meeting this Friday?
No, that's, sorry, Dee Dee, that one is for well, you can attend. It's for Aging and Disability Services Boards and Commissions. Nikki's going to be providing some more information for us at that meeting regarding Executive Order 3 and you know, the requirements around it and that kind of stuff. And then hopefully I'll find out more about whether our federal status or our federal because we're regulated federally and not through state regulation, that if it really does apply to us as a silk, or if it's something that we should request an exemption from. So
What time is that?
9 a.m. I believe.
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
9 a.m.
Yeah. So then we've got employment first. I think we should probably revisit that one too.
There may not be anything new at that time, but it can't hurt to have it on the agenda in case there is. Yes, Renee, I will, I'll send the meeting info out to Silk and interested parties because unless Nikki tells me that I can't, but I believe it's open to Silk members at least. And you are a Silk member, so I can do that.
I don't think they've sent it out yet, have they?
I received it, but I didn't know who received it, so I can send it out to at least our council. I don't know
Got it.
about the subcommittee, but I can send it out to the Silk.
Got it. So then do we have any specific bills that we want to discuss at the next meeting?
Well, the one involving Sarah Laird, I think is going to come up in committee anywhere from about the 5th through the 8th, right in that area. She said she'll contact me as soon as she has a for sure settled date. And then the 8th, I think, is Disability Legislative Days there. So, which I'm hoping lots of the disabled community will attend.
This is Dawn Lyons. I know anyone up north that I've talked to that isn't going to Silk Congress is planning on going to that Disability Legislative Day. Obioma wrote in the chat, she says, again, Stephen, yes, I would like to give updates. However, it will need to be with the understanding that we are seeking adjustments.
Got it. Do we have?
So this is Dawn Lyons. I would also like to recommend that as bills come up, that you reach out to Stephen or myself so that we can add it to the next agenda item or to the next agenda for our next meeting. Because like we said, things roll pretty fast during legislative session and sometimes they come up, it might be too late, but it might not be for open meeting law. So make sure you reach out regardless if you think it might be too late, because we'll do what we can.
Renee.
I'm on two council's policy committees, and I get bills and whatnot that I look over, read and whatnot. And from the other committee, if I get any info that fits you guys, I'll send it to you or Dawn, just to let you know.
Sounds good. And then this is Stephen for the record. Just want to let folks know before we move into public comment that the portions of the ADSD budget are going to be heard next Tuesday. The Medicaid budget is next Thursday, and the welfare budget is next Friday.
Can you repeat that, Steve, please?
Sure. So bits and pieces of the ADSD budget are next Tuesday, the 28th. The Medicaid budget is next Thursday, March 2nd, and then the welfare budget, welfare and supportive services, is next Friday, March 3rd.
This is Dawn Lyons. Stephen, did we move into public comment?
Yes, we can at this point.
Okay, I also have a public comment too. Jennifer
Sure.
Richards couldn't stay, I don't think. Yeah, no, she couldn't stay, but she wanted me to relay that AB 119 is scheduled for a hearing on Friday in Assembly House and Health and Human Services at 1:30 p.m. and establishes a vulnerable adult fatality review team. She says everyone deserves to live a life free of abuse regardless of age or disability, and we currently have no teams in Nevada that focus on this population. The goal of the team is systemic response to improve victim services across the state. And I can send out AB 119 information.
Perfect. Thank you, Dawn. So moving into public comment, is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak at this time?
Yeah.
Cindy, go ahead. Or Renee.
Okay, Stephen, this is Cindy Swanson. I'm sorry, am I interrupting somebody now?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. I have two things that I want to say. The Olmsted Advisory Group has sent out across the state their community workshop meetings so that they can describe to the community what is going on. And I'm on that advisory group, and the turnout in several counties is like one person, two people. And I think that's pretty much disappointing. Down here in Las Vegas, I think there's 26. Up north by you guys, it's 23, but the turnout is pretty small. And I don't know if the folks here with the CILs or whatever can send the stuff out again to their constituents to remind them of this. It's pretty important. It's pretty important. It's kind of like our roadmap for moving forward. The other thing I wanted to say, and I hope this isn't discussion, but I do want to point out someone on the call, and I'm not going to identify, said something about one of the high schools in the state might be somewhat resistant to keeping students who deserve to have transition years up until the day before their 22nd birthday. And if we're going to be looking at good employment first legislation, whether it's West Virginia or the Carolinas or the Colorado model, that information has to start getting out to parents when their kids are 14, when they're first starting transition, so that they do know what should be happening during those transition years. And the whole big issue I've had with a lot of this is that we're not wrapping all the different agencies together, and why education and VR are not part of Olmsted just fries my brain out. But I think that's what's important, is we've got to start educating families way when their kids are young. 14 is almost too late, in my opinion. And if there's a school that is saying, no, you can't be in transition, it's not to be in high school another year, 2 years, 3 years. It's to start developing those community skills. And if they're pushing back on it, then that's another big problem that we're only going to solve if we're all working together. So that's what I was excited or interested in saying. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Dawn.
This is Dawn Lyons, for the record. To piggyback off that, Cindy, I think maybe the IL network should make a visit, possibly the Youth Action Council, out to that school system.
Yes.
I pray to God you do, because boy, it's bad. As soon as someone turns 18, they throw them out. And especially if they have special needs that where they need a little extra help, they're not doing well at Carson High. Not to mention that I have pulled 3 kids out of there already and put them on online schooling, because I have to honestly say the bullying is horrible. And and their transition program is practically non-existent, because they really aren't interested in working with anyone. And so I'm hoping that things will change. And I'm hoping and praying that things get better for the disabled population in regards to that school, because it is pretty awful right now. So, and I think that kids should be transitioning at 13 before they enter high school, because high school is a big enough transition for kids. And I think they need to start transitioning them in the 8th grade, so that the whole change process isn't so much that it's overwhelming. So I think the 8th grade is a good time for them to be introduced and also absorbed into the disabled community, and to let them know that they have support at that time, because high school is a big transition.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Renee, do you have something?
I was wondering, you mentioned all the budget meetings coming up. Are they on Zoom? Because
So it's Zoom audio,
okay,
just not
because-
Zoom video.
okay, whatever that word is, but I physically can't go places too much. And so I'm just hoping I can, listen to the changes like in Medicaid and whatnot, like we are doing now, to keep up to date, to help my daughter.
This is Dawn Lyons. Renee, it's a little bit hard to hear you, but I'm wondering, are you asking how you can participate and give public comment in those meetings?
Yeah, with the budgets, or at least I can be on Zoom or whatever, so I can listen, read what they're saying and get the information, because of everything I'm doing for my daughter. I need to stay up to date. And since I don't physically leave the house much, I'm wondering about that. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize I had the microphone so far away from me.
Stephen, did you want to address that, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Renee, that if you go onto the Nellis website, and I can send you the link to that, you will be able to find the links to the Zoom so that you can listen in, or so that you can watch the YouTube video of it, whichever you prefer, because they usually have both available. So I'll send you that information after the meeting.
Thank you, Dawn.
Okay, this is Linda for the record. I just have a comment about the transitioning along with what's going on in the school system. From what I've seen and what Dee Dee has been pulling kids out for, is not only for the transitioning, but also bullying is still really rampant here in Carson City. So I think that should be brought up again too, about the bullying in the school system towards the disabled children.
So this is Dawn Lyons. I just want to piggyback on that as well, Linda, and in that we have some recent data and statistics that show that it's the #1 killer of under 18 is suicide, and a lot of that is because of bullying, and the disability community is disproportionately affected. So we all know this, and yeah, it's a probably a good thing to have on our next agenda too.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible here. It really is pretty horrible. It's so horrible that, I'm not one to say pull your kids out of school, but I have had several families where I've helped them file the paperwork to pull their kids out of school because it's so horrible. And
There may be
it's-
education legislation out there that we need to sift through to see if there is a current bill out there that applies to this or applies to the subject of bullying. So maybe, Stephen and I, or all of you, anyone who can search for that kind of stuff, it's really helpful, because there are a lot of bills out there.
This is what disappoints me. This is Linda for the record, is that the fact that the school principal and board are blaming the disabled children for egging on the bullying and not looking at the whole situation. That is the issue.
So let me get this straight, Linda. Are you talking about the zero tolerance policy where whoever they catch in the act at the moment, whether it's the person starting or the person like defending themselves, everybody gets in trouble? Is that the policy that you find troubling?
What I find troubling is the fact that, yeah, there's a no bullying policy in place, but like you said, whoever gets caught in the act. So even if the bullying is going on and the older adult sees that it's going on and then just assumes that it was brought on by the disabled person instead of knowing the whole story. So that in turn makes those kids that are having troubles and difficulties because they do have a learning disability, not want to be there, or, which I think is a very big damper, because I feel that school is a big thing for disabled children, in the fact that it helps with like interaction and the socialization. Whereas if they're stuck at home and they're doing online schooling, they don't have that. So to me, I think a lot of the adults need to be trained too, as much as the younger people, when it comes to children or young adults with disabilities, because they're so easily to put the blame on the disabled person other than the person that's actually bullying them.
And
Right.
you know how the disabled community is. The number one thing we need to encourage is learning to be a self-advocate, because that disabled person does back down.
Stephen, it looks like Renee's had her hand up for a little while. I didn't want to interrupt.
Renee, go ahead.
With everybody talking about bullying in school, it can go from both ways. My daughter with a disability was bullied, and my other daughter that's very gifted was bullied for being too dang smart. And I ended up trying to figure out with my oldest one, because she does not talk much, to figure out who the people were that was bullying her. And I went to the school, found out who, talked to the principal and the teachers, and they're like, we can't do anything. Your daughter has a disability. We can't deal with it. I said, you want to bet? And I fought. I went down to the school district and whatnot to get the kids that were bullying her suspended for a time being, and that when they come back, that Casey's aide watches where she goes so that they don't turn on her again. And the same with my youngest daughter. I pulled her out of school. I took her to another school and that had a program for the gifted and talented. And she fit in with them and she had no problems. But my oldest one, she didn't want to go back to school ever, but she got her diploma just a different way. And I just wanted to put my 2 cents in that, yeah, it can go both ways.
This is Dawn Lyons, and I would also like to piggyback off of what Renee said with my public comment, and that is that I feel as though school staff and administration often like to take the stance that it's the kid's problem and we need to address it as it's their problem. But in my experience, oftentimes it started with staff, or it has been because of staff initiating bullying activity. So that's also an issue too. Then I think definitely some education needs to be done. And if there is no current bill that we can bring up at the next meeting regarding bullying students with disabilities, I think this is definitely something that should be on our next agenda so that we can discuss what we can do to promote something to happen at next session, if not this one.
And I feel that what's happening is our kids are just saying, I never want to go back to that school. I hate that school. I don't want to participate. I don't want to go back. It's just horrible. It haunts me every waking hour. You know, I have kids who are so traumatized, they have tried to commit suicide. And because the bullying is so horrible. And basically the staff looks the other way. We turn in reports and everything else, nothing. Nobody calls you back. It's like you put the report in a black hole and it's gone. And it's never addressed again. And so I'm just telling my parents, put up with it as long as they can. And if they can't do it anymore, pull the kids out of school.
Maybe Dee Dee, you and I and Cody can get together outside of this meeting and discuss some potential strategies until we have our next meeting, and something we can do outside of our legislative subcommittee.
I'm up
Okay.
for anything, you know me.
Is there anyone else in the public that would like to comment at this time? Going once, going twice, hearing none. This meeting is adjourned at 2:24. Thank you all.
Thank you, Stephen.